I suppose I'd better get it out of the way early and say I agree with Alistair. It's fantastic to see such a really good turnout. This is the first Hustings we've done, and if the rest of them are as well attended as this, then I think we'll all be absolutely delighted. Well, where I also agree with Alistair, actually, is that this is not a rerun of the referendum. This election, arguably, is one of the most important that Scotland has ever faced. And what it is about, I believe, is about what we want Scotland's position to be within the United Kingdom for the next 5 years. Now, you've got to decide, do we return to business as usual, or do you want to ensure that Scotland's voice remains heard at the heart of government in Westminster? Because I believe it's as simple as that we can choose to go back in our box, or we can continue to dictate and to have our voice at the very heart of government. I think there are four main themes in this campaign. I think for me, and for a lot of Scotland, it's delivery of the vow that was made in September before the referendum. I think it's an end to austerity, which, as it was planned to do, has hurt the poorest and the most vulnerable in our society hardest. And I think it's also about the non-renewal of Trident, a Trident missile system at a cost of £100,000 million. And it's also about electing a Member of Parliament who will work constructively across party and with other governments and with other MSPs to secure a better deal for Argyll and Bute. As I said, let me make this absolutely clear. The Scottish National Party accept the result of the referendum. 55% of Scots opted to stay within the Union, and now what we want to do and what we have to ensure is that what was promised to Scotland is delivered. In September, Gordon Brown, along with the other leaders, Mr Clegg, Mr Miliband and Mr Cameron, promised that in the event of a no vote, that Scotland would be, I quote, a federal state within 2 years, and that there would be a sharing of sovereignty across these islands. Having voted for that, all we want to do is ensure that that is what is delivered by the next UK government. And I believe that only a large SNP presence in Westminster will ensure the delivery of those substantial new powers. I don't think that we can trust any of the other opposition parties to deliver on the vow. In 2010, the people of Argyll and Bute elected a Liberal Democrat to keep the Tories out. They promptly got the Tories in, and we delivered a Tory government in tooth and claw. The 5 years of austerity have hurt the poorest hardest. The poorest 10% of our people have shouldered far more than their fair share of the burden of austerity. And it was Gandhi that said that a true measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable people. What can we say about the society that we currently live in, when 1 child in every 4 is living in poverty, when 60% of those children live in a house where at least 1 adult is working? 220,000 young Scots are starting their lives disadvantaged in health, in education and future employment. And if the Institute of Fiscal Studies said that when the cuts really bite after 2016, a further 100,000 Scots children are going to be in poverty. And it doesn't have to be like this. There is an alternative. The economy should not be run as a means in itself. The economy has to be run for the betterment of society, particularly for the betterment of those at the very bottom rung. So we can end the cuts, we can reduce the deficit at a slower rate, we can invest in public services, and we can borrow to get the economy going and get people out of 0-hour contracts and low pay. We've been told there is no money, but there's still everyone in this platform, bar the SNP, believes that we can afford £100,000 million to renew Trident weapons, a Trident missile system. It is morally wrong, it's economically insane, and it is militarily useless. And if you want to know what £100,000 million actually is, this year Comic Relief was 30 years old. It celebrated by announcing it raised £1 billion in that 30 years. Comic Relief would have to run for 3,000 years, raising that amount of money to pay for Trident. That is the moral and economic and military obscenity that is Trident, when we don't have the basic defence the basic conventional defence to look after ourselves. Those are the issues which I think are paramount in this general election. And as Arthur said, I'll be delighted to face any questions if you have on what the SNP are proposing going forward. Thank you very much.